Nobody's doing any of that. You know, he's very so Yes, how are you?
just do it here.
Okay.
What's that? Sure, that's-
Okay. It's four. Came for here. Get that.
Yeah, no, you need that. Full clarity. Okay.
Should be. Jeff Garcia. Absolutely. How you doing? How's it going? Everything good? Yeah. Jeff Garcia. Yes. Tell him that I did a job this time. You did an excellent job presenting. And by the way, we're going to talk about we got it on there. It's the shirt. I'm very impressed. It's amazing. I'm going to come on the landing. I want to come on
It's okay. I appreciate she's definitely going to be happy.
Listen, only two people come. One of them see the couch. At those meetings. That's me.
So I pointed it you know, I like
Good job. He was what? One of the very years ago. Mr. John Lewis. And I had the pleasure to have dinner with him. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They're supposed to. It's in the truck. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Good evening, Chairwoman Jimenez. I'm a Miami Springs resident of half a century, and I've never come across a situation. I don't see a sign-in sheet for us to communicate to you all. That's something you,
Sir, there's no sign in for this meeting.
there's not.
No, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
But you live at 104 Swan. Correct? Okay, but you comply. Comply with your things, right?
Okay, let's call this code enforcement board meeting to order. It's November 2nd, 2021, and it's 7:04 p.m. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Member Langston?
Aye.
Board Member Rivera?
Aye. Here.
Board Member Martinez? Board Member Corey? Board Member Rossi? Here. Board Member Chairperson Jimenez?
Aye. Okay, let's all stand and salute our flag.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I request a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, October 5th. I will motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, Madam Chairperson.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we need to swear in anyone that's going to be speaking at the podium today. If you're going to give testimony, please stand up so we don't have to go back in the middle of our hearing to swear you in. Okay, is that it? Nobody else is going to say anything? Okay. If anyone is going to testify, please stand up to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Questioning the number of people here, just asking to make sure that I testify to be sent. It is a public hearing, you're correct. Clerk, do we have any old business to take care of?
No, they've already complied.
So the old business is compliant?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, and go to our first case.
On March 10, 2021, received a text message from a former City of Miami Springs councilperson that read, "I called Erica and she's going to ask you about it. The UTG building on 36th Street, they want to paint a mural of like a child reading on the side of the building, and they want to make sure that they can do that. What's the protocol?" On March 10th, 2021, Officer Quintero called the former councilperson back and explained that he was not part of the department that would determine the requirements, but that he would reach out to the city planner and confirm with him. So on March 18, 2021, Officer Quintero, during routine inspections, noticed a large mural taking up the eastern elevation of the building. On March 25th, 2021, Officer Quintero sent a notice of violation to the property via regular and certified mail and hand-delivered to the Chief of Staff, Mr. Molnar. Tracking number 7019-0686. Mr. Molnar claimed to not know that he needed a permit to paint. On April the 15th, 2021, the city staff met via Zoom with the president of the union and the chief of staff, among other attendees, regarding the violation. An extension was granted until May 24th, 2021 to come into compliance. On May 11th, 2021, the permit was submitted to the city manager and forwarded to the building department. On May 18th, 2021, the permit was disapproved by the city planner. On September 16, 2021, Officer Quintero sent the summons to appear in front of the Code Compliance Board via regular and certified mail, tracking number 7019-0051. On September 20th, 2021, Officer Quintero sent a reminder email with the summons to appear to President Hernandez Matz and the Chief of Staff, Molnar. That's a photo of the building prior. There's the mural in question. And that was a photo taken today. Wasn't that mural defaced, as I recall seeing? Yeah, so, can't hear you. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was. So what is the, so you can see it on here? Just that area, right here, and then right over here. Okay. It's like some black paint. Thank you.
For the record, is that
For the record, there are 4 violations listed in the notice of violation. The city is dismissing the first 3. I'll read it into the record. So that's section 150-030G3A. 2, section 150-030G3B. Section, number 3, section 150-030G3C. So we're only proceeding against, with respect to violation number 4, section 93-51.
So it has to do with the color palette.
Right, that's the only violation that we're proceeding. They may acknowledge or to wish to challenge the violation. They have the attorney present and will introduce himself on the record. And based on whether or not, how they proceed, the city will present their case. I'll present the case.
Was the ticket issued by the code enforcement officer? And if so, what amount, Benny? No.
Oh, sorry, this was a notice of violation. I believe the case number was already read into the record. It's 21-00001221. It was issued on March 25th, 2021. They were given until April 24th, 2021 to come into compliance. Failure to do so would result in them being brought before board where heard and fines may be assessed. Yes.
I'll put it up. Let's see. First
Yes.
violation.
Yes. We are.
Okay, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Javier Fernandez, office at 201 Alhambra, Suite 1205, here on behalf of UTD Building Corp., which is the owner of the subject property. For the record, we'd like to first thank the city for dismissing the first 3 violations. On the 4th count, we'd like to enter a plea of contempt. We believe we're in compliance with the code.
But the owner did paint the mural.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm happy to get into that as part of our presentation.
Just a yes or no? The mural
Yes,
was painted
the
by the
mural-
owner?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. 4.
So based on the plea, in addition to the inspector's initial presentation of the case, we have the notice of violation, which is violation of section 93-51 of the city code, failure to comply with the applicable color palette. They have a copy of section 93-51, the subject code. This council doesn't have a copy.
I've got a copy, please, sir.
Under subsection B, compliance with color palette, I'll read it into the record. This section requires that all commercial buildings within the applicable business district of the city shall conform to the color palettes approved and authorized in resolutions numbers 2011-3510 and 2011-3511 and codified in section 150-028F2 and 3. Referring to that section, 150-8, I direct you to subsection F3, which is the area where the subject building is located. Provide the board with a copy, as well as council with a copy of that section if needed.
I believe the board has a copy. So the color palette, we weren't supplied with a copy or any reference as far as the color palette, but what are the acceptable colors? I'm assuming the reds and blues and
Well,
other.
if you like, I can, once I read this into the record, then I'll discuss the, I guess it may answer your question.
Thank you.
So the color, so under subsection F3, the color palette for all commercial development, redevelopment, renovation, and restoration projects in the Northwest 36th Street District, which is where this building is situated, adopted in resolution number 2011-3511 is hereby incorporated and codified herein. Subsection A, the painting of commercial building exteriors may utilize as many as 3 approved color palette colors. Based on being limited to 3 approved colors, and based on the photos,
You put the photos back up, please.
yeah, these, Rosemary, please put them. Based on the facade of the building having more than is the city deems this to be a violation of the color palette code. Based on the last, Inspector, please introduce yourself to the record.
Inspector Officer Rosemary Noble,
When was the last time you inspected the subject building?
today.
Okay, was the mural or the facade of the building, did it still appear as depicted by the photo?
Yes, that photo was taken today.
Okay, based on your inspection, does it still constitute a violation of section 93-51?
Yes.
Thank you. So the city would submit a photo, which was NOV, and as evidence into the record today, composite to today, and also would ask that the board take judicial notice of the subject code violations, which is, I'm sorry, the reference code numbers, which is 93-51B and 150-028 F3. I would also say that, of course, if the board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer. However, I know that GE is here represented by counsel, and they also wish to present their side of the case. In addition, this is a public hearing. There are members of the public who wish to chime in on the matter pursuant to the city code. After the parties have presented their case and at the board's discretion, they may do so. So that's something that we can take up after the parties have presented their case.
Thank you, we're very well.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so I asked about the color palettes. So I am assuming that the colors that are there are not in compliance with the color palette.
Correct. Even if they had the colors. So in this building, we have 3 walls that are in compliance. One, which is the one depicted, is not in compliance. Even if they were in compliance with the colors, if it was limited to the colors authorized by the code, which is no more than 3, it would be in compliance. Which actually I would note, a different section of the code doesn't require them to pull a permit in order to correct. That's under 150-028 F2A.
Does not
I'm sorry, no,
require,
I'm sorry,
does not
that's
require the permit, correct?
That's 93-51 C2, which does not require them to pull a permit in order to apply the violation.
If you give me a moment, second.
So to answer your specific question, no, the colors, not only the colors, but the number of colors directly violate the code on the city code.
And for the record, you stated that they would not need a permit in order to rectify.
That's actually under 93-51 C2.
All right. I just want to make sure that I see it there. Just want to make sure we're following up. So how much time would you require to correct the violation if the board were to lean towards having you correct violation?
Through the chair, we believe there is no violation. If I'm provided an opportunity, I'd like to.
Sir,
Yeah.
answer my question. How much time would you need to take the mural off or to cover it up if the board were to steer in that direction?
If you would allow me, I'm happy to confer with my client very quickly and try to get an estimate as best we
Go
can.
ahead, do it right now.
The board would indulge us 90 days, if in fact they ruled against us on, we believe, other merits. We think that's sufficient time to get the violation corrected,
It's a long time.
alleged violation corrected.
We have something else?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just, again, council, if this concludes the presentation, with the chair's indulgence, I'd like to ask the inspector a few questions and then put on our case in chief, if that's okay. Thank you. Inspector Nova, I just, with respect to violation 4, since it's the only violation the city is not dismissed. 9351 regulates the colors that can be painted within the district, is that correct?
That's correct.
If I may, I'm happy to share with you the color palette that's approved for the district. May I put the presentation? So we're ready to direct this to the top. Okay. It's just the arrow here. You just go all the way to the end. Thank you. So I think, Madam Chair, the board had inquired about the scope of the colors that are authorized. This is the authorized color palette for the district. Would it be correct, Madam Inspector, to state that with the exception of the wall on which the mural is located and painted, the balance of the walls are painted in a manner consistent with the approved color palette?
I'm sorry?
If the balance of the walls, with the exception of the wall mural, are painted in compliance with the approved color palette?
Yes.
Lastly, does 9351 regulate signs or the colors of signs that can be painted on commercial signs? Does section 9351, which prescribes the color palette requirement, does it regulate signs or the colors of signs? And any signage, commercial or otherwise?
Objection, that would fall outside the scope. That may be appropriate for the zoning official.
But I'm happy to ask that question, but you're not objecting to her answering.
No, I'm saying that might be outside the other. That's an interpretation that she may not be able to make.
I think, then I'll rephrase the question, which is, does 9351 reference any language that would limit the color of signage? Or does it speak explicitly to the color of exteriors or building exteriors? I think a plain reading of the code will allow you to render a video of that.
I don't know, the only thing that I can tell you is that only 3 colors are approved. You can't use any more than that. That's what I've been told from the city planner. I don't have any other information.
Have you read or reviewed section 9351 of the code yourself now?
I have read through it, yes.
Okay.
But I don't make these determinations. I go based on what the city planner tells me.
And do we have any written determination, city planner, with respect to in what ways this particular sign violates the code?
Violates the code because you're using more than 3 colors.
With respect to, okay, they've not made a determination as to whether or not this sign is a wall mural and exempt from the signage requirements of the code. Is that correct?
Objection, relevance.
Relevance is that it's a sign type.
We're not gonna go through a whole trial there. We're just not.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll get to her.
When we make our decision, if you're not happy with it, you know that you can appeal to.
I know, but I need to build a record for that appeal. That's one reason I'm
For the
asking.
record, but this is not a trial. This is not gonna be a trial, so.
So with that by way of background, if I could bring up a quick witness, and I'll make some short argument now.
Who is the witness?
The witness is the president of the United Teachers of Dade, who would like to explain why and how they went through inquiring, doing the requisite diligence to, when they expended significant money to
I
commission
don't
the
think
mural.
all the board needs to know whether or not the owner had that, payment, and we've got that answer already. So I mean,
Madam Chair, we are entitled to due process. If you want to deny us that due process, I understand, but
we're not.
Okay, the mural was painted without authorization from the city.
okay, Madam Chair, I would like to direct the board to section 150-30 of the code. Specifically section B. I think you all received a letter from our law firm outlining our argument on this issue. I think very simply, the definition of a commercial sign expressly includes an exemption for art murals. Right? They are not considered for purposes of the city's regulation as a sign that requires any sort of permit. If you look at subsection L of the same section of the code, it lists all of the signage types that require a building permit, when my clients, before they decided to expend the resources to have this mural commission, they consulted not only with, the code, but with a former city council person to make sure that they were acting in compliance as they have when they acquired the building with the city's regulations. A plain reading of the code indicates that art murals are not regulated signs, but they are a recognized form of signage under the definition in section 130B48, sign commercial, as it's described therein. Okay. So this building wall, while it is an exterior, is in fact a wall mural. A wall mural is a sign that does not require a permit. So they went ahead and painted a mural in accordance with the regulations as promulgated by the city.
Did they ever contact anybody in the city or even apply
They
for a
did. They
permit
actually,
before that?
as you saw on the record,
Did they
former
apply
city
for a
council
permit?
person-
Did they apply for a permit before they started?
they're not required, as it is our position that we are not required to apply for a permit for an art mural because it's not among the listed signage types in section 15030 subpart L. So we inquired, we actually used the good offices of a friend and former city council person to confirm their actions were in fact proper. And
That's why I'm
consistent with
asking
code.
you to contact the city.
We did
Forget about friends and family and everybody
No,
else,
I-
just somebody in the city. This was my question.
I'm sure that yes, we did. Through the assistance of former Councilman Tabata, who's here, can testify to this fact. She contacted the city on our behalf to confirm that in fact, our understanding of the code was correct. So it's our position that we are complying with the color palette. 3 of the walls are painted in a color consistent with the color palette. This particular wall is in fact a sign that is not regulated by the sign code and therefore exempt. And the color palette section is not applicable in this case because again, it is an art mural, a recognized sign that is exempt from regulation.
Council, do we have, other codes for murals at all? Because I haven't seen that. Because are there other murals, Rosemary, Spector, Noble, in the city?
Okay, so with respect to, you may have a response.
If I can, Madam Chair, I
We
do
probably both
have
have responses. Right, so
If I
you're
can hear
asking
from the
me-
city attorney first, then
Okay.
we'll allow you to present yourself.
So he referred to wall mural. I think the exact term was wall murals. There's no wall, that term is not defined. I see wall sign, but that's not a wall mural.
Exactly.
So wall mural is not defined by sign codes. Regardless of what it is, whether it's mural, wall mural, whatever. It's a wall. Sure, I would stipulate to that. It has to go wide. It's on the facade of the structure. That's why the sections that I cite to repeat structure. Doesn't talk about sign. Under 93-51 B says this section requires all commercial buildings, not signs, not murals, not art, whatever you want to call this. If you're going to do it, and we're not talking about signs, it's going to comply with color palette. It's a black and white, no pun intended, a black and white reading of the law. That's the city's response.
Thank you.
You may have a city's response.
If I can address this one specific point. Again, I just want to read for the record. Again, section 130-50, subsection B, the definition of sign commercial. That if you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 line ins, quote, any wall mural, so it's not defined, but the term is expressly included in the code, any wall mural or other artwork which bears no specific relationship to a particular product, place, activity, person, institution, business, or service shall not be considered a sign for purpose of this section, shall not be regulated by this section. Therefore, the code expressly contemplates that someone might improve their building with a mural, which says we're not going to regulate the size, the scope, the colors that mural can utilize. Okay? In your sign section, the building color palette deals with building exteriors generally. This is a specific exemption that addresses the very kind of sign that we've incorporated in our building. And for that reason, we believe that, notwithstanding anything else, there's no ledges in baseball. When you're running the first base, the tie goes to the runner. The case law in Florida treats property owners' rights similarly. Where there's an ambiguity, which we don't believe there's an ambiguity in this code. We believe the code is clear by virtue of this language that these are permitted signage types But even if there was an ambiguity, right, because this is a derogation of our private property rights, under the Ringer case, this progeny, we should be given the benefit of the doubt that allows to improve the building's matter until there's an express prohibition on the signage type adopted by the city, which to my understanding, there's nothing in the code that would prohibit expressly an art mural or a wall mural as described in the code. Yes, sir.
Your interpretation.
It is. It's all. There's. I'm happy to speak to or ask your code inspector, if I may, for the record. Are there any words or grouping of letters or logos that identify United Teachers of Dade on that wall mural?
I don't think you answered our code enforcement first question.
That's the building. Says we should
No. So yeah, no, we do, and there is, and we do have.
Education, and you can obviously see that in the picture. So that's your interpretation. So our interpretation on the other side is that you know, we're not saying it's a sign, or not a sign or not. Beyond see, it has 3 colors that are approved.
Madam Chair, if I may, just by way of response to Mr. Mason, respectfully, you're here to interpret the code in its full content. And so I think you need to decide, again, I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to decide, but I think there are 2 code provisions, right? Which one controls? And what we are submitting is that what we have erected is a wall mural, which in your signage code is expressly described and exempted from those regulations. And so, you know, the color palette regulation, you could erect channel signage, permitted wall sign, for example, under section 13050. They can have any number of colors. The color palette does not preclude the number of colors on commercial signage. So it'd be odd that the city would interpret the color palette as limiting the number of colors permitted on a wall mural or a piece of art. So I think that's where the disconnect exists. I understand the confusion, because frankly, when I first spoke to council about this matter, I restarted, which is that 9351 controls. But when I dove into the language, there clearly is an exemption for art murals. They are a form of recognized signage for the express language of the code. And because they are recognized and because they are exempt, that treatment is perfectly appropriate on that one wall. You know, we're not trying to draw attention to our business or the activity on the site. We have signage that let people know on the right of way on 36th Street that who occupies the building. It's oriented towards that public frontage. This sign is oriented to our own internal parking lot. We just thought this would be a wonderful statement, and yes, it addresses, we think, the importance of education to our democratic values and institutions, but it's not intended to, as a commercial sign is, draw attention to the occupant of the business. It is an artistic expression, and it was erected for that purpose. And we're happy to put on this Carla Hernandez Max to speak to that intent and her understanding before we set upon this improvement and today what the rules were when we did that. We did not intend to violate the code in any way or flout the rules. We've always intended to comply and be a good neighbor to the city. And I wanted to note one other thing for the record since the timeline was put up. Because there is a large gap between the date the notice of violation and this hearing was held. And so I want the benefit of the board to kind of backfill the timeline, because I don't want you to leave with the impression that we somehow were ignoring what was happening here. The violation was issued, and on May 11th, the very day on your timeline that we submitted the permit, we met with the city manager in a good faith effort to understand how we could resolve this impasse. And notwithstanding our belief that, again, the sign regulations do not apply, and that we're not required to get a permit, we submitted a permit application in the hopes that we would resolve this issue administratively and not have to take up this board's time or the court's time. And I'm happy to tender a copy, an email for the record, copy to you by me.
We take your, you can submit it, but we'll take your word for it.
Yes.
We're not going to question that.
And the email just confirms that we submitted the application on the 11th, the very same day we met with the city manager. Again, to fill in the timeline a bit further. After we submitted the application, notwithstanding that the timeline says that there was a decision rendered on the 18th, we were never informed of the decision. And in fact, after our mural was defaced, we inquired about the status of the permit. And it was only on September 16th that we became aware that in fact the permit request had been denied.
What date was the mural defaced?
The mural was defaced, I believe, on September 13th or thereabouts.
And was there any attempt to correct that?
We decided not to correct it since we were already in a violation posture with the city. We did not want to do anything to the sign that would further engender any animus with the city or put us in any further adversarial posture. And again, I'll submit a copy of that email between the city manager and Mr. Anderson Match for the record.
And the board is very, very aware of when
Our
it's an
council
issue
has
and the delay.
copyright.
Of the email?
Yes,
Yes, it's just handed it.
yeah, okay.
So again, I just wanted to address the timeline because I don't want to leave this board.
We're very aware of the, trust me, we're, a lot of us are very seasoned. We've been on the board. We know that things don't happen overnight.
No, we appreciate your service and we just wanted to make sure you didn't think we were somehow ignoring the city's directive to
If
resolve
we
the matter.
did, trust me, we would ask you questions.
Thank you. Madam Chair, is there any questions I can answer for the board on?
I just want to make sure, have you put this letter into the record? So you want to preserve your,
I will do that now as
you
well.
want to go ahead and do that before we
Start.
start our discussion and make our decision.
Just so that's.
That way you'll be able to get all of your arguments. in the
Thank you.
record.
So for the record, obviously the arguments with respect to one with three do not apply any longer, but we are submitting a copy of the letter we shared with the board, the clerk. A couple of exhibits include the notice of violation and the building permit that was submitted on May 11th.
I have a question. At any time, did you guys present your case to the zoning and planning director or zoning and planning board?
Sir, and I'm happy to have, if you would like, my client address specifically, but my understanding is that we read the code, which we are entitled to rely on the plain reading of it. And we did try to validate our reading of the code by speaking to Ms. Sabato, who's a former council person, and she did us the favor of speaking to staff to confirm that the mural was in fact exempt. And she can testify to that if the board would like to hear from that person.
And I asked you the same question. I wanted to know if you guys, if you,
Yeah, because
the
there's,
attorney or the other property owner contacted the city.
If
and
you
I-
go
and the
to
answer is
section-
no.
if you go to section 93-51 C1A, there's an exception provision there. So if you guys think that you are not in violation of any code, did you go and follow the procedure for the exemption?
Through the chair, yes, but that, I believe that exception provision applies to buildings that are branded. So for example, a Burger King or McDonald's that use a uniform color scheme and require contractually to.
It says owners of property within the applicable business district may be exempt from the color palette compliance program of this ordinance if they can establish within the sole and exclusive discretion of the zoning and planning director.
Yeah, that the building is
The
subject
building
to.
subject conformity with branding requirements imposed upon it by appropriate third party.
So yeah, unfortunately, we are not subject to any sort of third-party branding requirements. And we do not believe that this was commercial signage again. We believe this to be a legitimate art mural and that art mural, to the best of our understanding of reading the code, is exempt.
But you are a business, right?
That it's a nonprofit organization.
It's an organization,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Is that mural used anywhere else for the school board, or maybe not the school board, for the UTD? Do they use that mural? Do they have it anywhere else, like in
Pamphlets or,
pamphlets or anything else?
No, it's just
Just on that wall.
on that woman.
For the record, I have a lot of people waving their heads back that were not sworn in, so this is why I ask people to swear in.
I don't know, but I believe that this should have gone to,
Can I continue though? So if you're saying you're not in the branding, then you go to section 93-51C1B, variant provision. Owner of property within the applicable business district who are not subject to branding requirements may seek a variance. Did you attempt to do that?
Yes, sir. So Madam, through the chair, I was retained early this month on this matter, and upon being engaged, looked at the code, and my first call was for a law school classmate, Ms. Sadie Sarah, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Arango for a long time as well, to understand whether or not that was an option that was open to us to resolve this amicably. First of all, we do not think it applies. We think we are exempt. Notwithstanding that, one of the difficulties with that provision, as you probably appreciate, is that a variance requires a substantial hardship. I think I would be hard pressed to show how a sign, in some way, is the substantial hardship. So, we would like to work out an accommodation with the city, but again, with the zoning, the Board of Adjustment, we authorized to grant the variance. I don't know, and I'm not sure we would meet the legal requirements for it, sir.
Is that something that you would be willing to do, if that's something the board decides on to ask for a variance.
I mean, that to me, that should have been your first step before coming to get before us.
We didn't have a choice, sir. I mean, we were put in a violent posture
But
and
the problem is you're coming before us now, we're gonna make a final decision. And you should have we should have went through that route before coming to us. We're sort of like the buck stops here, let's say.
sir, again, and I understand, and I just want to reiterate for the record that that variance provision is for the benefit of commercial signage, which we are expressly excluded from the definition.
Well, but it says that you can apply for a variance if you don't think you're in the branding requirement.
Correct, but that's again that is for, again, excuse me, not signage, applies to the exterior color of the building. So you're talking about a variance for the approved color palette of more than 3 colors, because a McDonald's, a Burger King, Starbucks are required to incorporate a branding aesthetic contractually. That's not the condition here. We have an art mural that we think, it's our firm position that 9351 does not control in this case. It's really the provisions of section 13050, given the nature of the art mural being a sign, that it's exempt from regulation. And we did not pursue obtaining a building permit because 13050 subpart L says it's not a sign that requires a permit to be issued.
Well, we understand that you don't need a building permit, but you do need a variance, or at least an exemption from the color palette, which you have not attempted to do so. Right?
That may be your finding, your concern. We disagree.
Well, everybody's entitled to interpretation. That's what I'm interpreting from reading 93-51. So you didn't follow the proper channel to go to the variance or get the exemption, and now you're coming before us saying that, it's trying to state your case, and frankly, you need to go through the proper channel.
Right. Exactly. That is.
Yeah.
That's not what we do.
That-
I was trying to tell you. Like, those 2 colors, yes, that's basically what we do. We don't set the code. It's something this complicated, it's surely not. Right, tell you something.
No, I understand. I think
Board told the other board what you're telling us, that you really don't have that authority.
well, I would, again, your city attorney can speak to what authority he believes you have, and
And for the record, the city is the city, we are the board.
Understand.
And you are, we're totally separate. They can say whatever they want.
ultimately
We
you take your
interpret it, we
advice or
make
not.
a-
I
We're
understand.
quasi judicial, you know that, so I
I
don't need to
do.
tell you that.
And so I look, if the board is amenable to continuing this matter for a period of time, so we can explore whether a variance is a viable option, I think. Mr. Hernandez,
So
I
that
think would be
doesn't, that
amenable to
doesn't take
that.
away that there's still in front of us a violation that we still have to make a decision on.
I believe that, at least the way I feel is that you should first approach the planning and zoning board and see what they say, and then apply for a variance and pick whatever they say, and give them time for that.
Yeah, my thoughts from the very beginning was that I feel that this should have been something to bring up on a variance with a code of adjustment,
The zoning board
Or-
controls the color palette.
or the zoning board that does control the colors, because really this is after the fact. And that was something that you guys should have done way before, when you were gonna put more than 3 colors on there. That's a variance, and that's not something that we have any say-so about. We're like at the end of the road
Yeah,
here.
it came to us right away.
Yeah.
You should have went through the proper channel before it came to us.
I have a question about our authority, city attorney. So based on the letter, it mentions what a wall mural is, but we don't have a copy of the full code to actually see that in writing from our city. So could we get a copy of the full, if it's in,
Full sign ordinance,
There's no mural.
there's
where
no,
they talk about
you won't find it.
the definition in your letter?
There's no defined term. And there's only 2 mentions to a mural, I think, anywhere in the code. Section 13050 and the city attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, and I believe in a recently approved section of the downtown district that authorizes the incorporation of wall murals. Those are the only 2 references I was able to find to wall murals, undefined in the code.
picture of
It's on the,
illustration.
I introduced a copy of the sign ordinance, but it's section 150, begins with section 150-029. I could provide you a copy of it, but in terms, we're talking about whether or not it constitutes a mural. That's what's at play now. So if you'd like, you could read over the definition. You're not going to find a defined term for mural. I'd be happy to provide you a copy.
And I would caution the board members to understand that this is a letter prepared by the law firm. It's not our code.
That's what
It's
I'm
not our,
asking
I mean,
for.
you can
I'm
read
happy to,
this.
Madam Chair, happy to provide her a copy of the
That's
actual
what I'm
code
asking for.
highlighted.
Yes.
As long as she understands.
Yeah, that's
This
what
is
I'm
not-
saying. I, all I have is a letter from.
This is
the
basically
I would like the actual.
His
code.
opinion, the law firm's opinion, without, with certain.
Is it, am I correct in thinking that it's our role to decide on whether this specific code applies to this?
Yours,
We have to interpret.
okay, so
According to the code, they're in violation.
Right, well,
before
I
you
think
make
we have
findings,
to, that's why I.
Well, because they didn't go through the variance and they didn't go through the zoning board to get approval and they didn't go get a variance to not be branded. So basically it came to us and we got to decide, like you say, black and white. Did they follow the color palette? No. So you're in violation. Because they didn't go through the proper channel.
an interpretation of the code is not proper for this board to make. You're here to make findings of fact and conclusions of law. You must do so in order to render an order. So this is almost like what would be the equivalent to a bench trial. You are the judge and jury, you're making findings of fact based on the evidence presented, the testimony given, and you're making decisions as to whether the code as it reads, as you read it, has been violated.
And I think that's the point. She's not an attorney, so she doesn't know those specific words that you just used, but I'm pretty sure that's what she meant.
Yes, so he may, they're taking, and I don't,
Happy to carry your this if you like.
yes, I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, in any way, but I believe he's saying, their position is that they don't need to get a variance because it's just not.
Yeah, to clarify, our position is this one wall is a wall mural, and it's not regulated by your sign code. It is allowed expressly, and it conforms with those provisions. And as to the color palette does not regulate the form, color, shape, size, or signage. And so therefore, it's not applicable with respect to this one facade.
But on the other hand, it is a wall as well, so.
Now, my argument
It's
is
a
that
commercial wall, it's a wall to the building.
it's
not a home.
even if you say that the code does not regulate, whatever you want to call it, wall mural, the color palette, it does not exempt or dismiss the color palette. It applies. It's a wall, it applies.
Madam Chair, we're conflating two issues, and I know we put a lawyer in the room, so I wanted to just clarify.
There are a few in
A
here.
few in here. And so, and one on the board that I'm aware of, we're conflating two issues here. I think one is the color palette does regulate the exterior color of buildings. Again, the color palette does not, I mean, you can put a sign with purple letters on that approved color palette in the form of a wall sign with channel letters, and it would be consistent with the code. And so I just want to make sure that when you're deciding on these issues, there are two standards, one for the exterior face of the wall and one for signage. And again, the color palette does not regulate the color of signage. You can have purple letters, you can have blue letters, you can have green letters, and you see lettering, channel lettering along 36th Street with sign that is basically advertising the business or tenancy in those buildings. And so the two can coexist. I understand they appear to be in conflict, but they can coexist, and one does not, the existence of one does not preclude the other. So what we're saying is here, we think the controlling provision is the exemption in 13050, not the color palette, because again, if we said the color palette controls, which it does for the rest of the building, you could still have signage and colors that are not consistent with that color palette, and more than 3 frames. There's nothing in the code that would limit the number of colors in the letters used on the permissive sign types. There's two permitted sign types, from my understanding, for the section of freestanding sign and wall signs, and those wall signs do not specifically say that you cannot have letters with these colors.
And I understand what you're saying, but I think that your argument should be going to the zoning and planning board, not to us.
I agree with that. That's what I was saying, that he needs a variance. After the fact, but I think that that's.
If you get through the zoning and they approve your color palette or they give you a variance and stuff, then we're out of the picture.
And Mr. Bulgari, if that's your position and that's something the board would like us to explore again, our goal is to avoid being in an adversarial posture. The city, we want to be a good neighbor, we want to be part of this community.
I agree, and I understand that, and I respect that. So I bet you guys doing that. I think,
I asked that you go straight to the city. Don't go to a former whoever and a former this and a member. Just go straight to the city.
So if that's the,
Take your time and go straight to the city.
I understand, madam. I understand, thank you. And I would just ask if that's the board's preference, our only options are one of twofold. If you enter an adverse order today, we have 30 days to appeal it. So that would put us in circuit court. So if the board would like us to explore that administrative route, then what I would simply ask is let's continue these proceedings for a period of time you think is reasonable for us to make an application, if my client's amenable, and we'll present that application and see where we end up. It doesn't prejudice our position today. It certainly allows us to indulge that the board's preference. We can go back
Before we even consider that, why don't you ask your client to see if they want to go through that route or if they want a certain amount of time to paint that wall to match the other 3 walls.
They've
I mean, you
acknowledged to me that
you
their
can-
preference is to pursue the variance.
To spend the funds and go through that.
how long does it take for them to go to get a variance, how to sit in front of the variance, the zoning and planning board? Do you know, Rosemary?
I would have to,
What are we running, 2 months? They meet monthly?
I mean, can we give them?
I would have to require.
Mr. O'Gara, if I could just offer a suggestion, you're only getting a certain amount of time to present the application. If you give us a 30 days, you can do a status check at your next board meeting. And if we haven't presented in time, then you could render.
I mean, my opinion is I like to get this corrected the proper way for all parties involved and be as fair and honest as possible. And I do believe that you need to go to the zoning board to get their approval first before coming to us. So I'm willing, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I'm willing to give you as much time as needed to take care of that before finally coming to us to say you're in violation.
Madam Clerk, so we don't know how long the zoning board is running to
Give
hear
them 90
matters.
days, is that enough?
If I
80
may.
days, 90 days?
If I may interject, I can't say, again, I can't say how long that process would take. But as it stands today, the zoning official was, of course, this matter was taken with the zoning official. As it stands today, the city believes that their violation, the violation stands, the code palette has been, the code has been violated. The zoning official is fully aware and on board with that interpretation based on everything given and all the facts before the zoning official. I can't say whether or not, if in light of that, the remedy is to pursue variance, whether or not they would meet the requisite elements in order to make that application fruitful. I can't give any guidance on that, but as it stands today, all the facts given, our position is that it's a present violation.
About it, we give them
We
till
can give
next
them,
month
we
to
can,
come
we
back
can,
with a.
we can formulate a motion to give them ample time to go in, to submit their application and go in front of the zoning board. And if the matter is not resolved, then we can actually even set a fine if the wall hasn't been cleared, if they don't clear the hoop of a zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I
just think it's,
right.
it's.
Well, I don't want to have them come back every month. I really don't want them back every month.
Which
Give me
board,
the
for
sense of it.
clarification, would be the board that decides if they are exempt under 13050, if that exemption applies?
The zoning.
Is that a board or is it city?
Well, I believe they have to, they have to, I'm not their attorney, they have to seek guidance from the land use attorney, perhaps their attorney, but he's probably more than qualified to guide him in that direction, you know. But
What board of
but
ours?
I think that the
Is it
zoning official
is
would
it
be a
ours?
good person to start, and perhaps that may lead to a presentation before the board. I can't give any guidance on that. That might be, what is the planning zoning and appeals? Planning zoning and appeals board.
Yeah, Have to go to-
Or city council, would it be the council?
The council would be an
And then it
appeal.
would go to the council, so it might be more than one board.
Planning and zoning. It would be planning and zoning.
Madam Chair, we're happy to pursue those again. Otherwise, we're going to be in circuit court, and who knows how long that will take to resolve this matter. We would certainly be happy to.
I'm a little bit worried about even giving you that option, because if your own opinion is that you're not gonna meet the hurdles to try to get a variance, I mean, why keep you, hanging on? Otherwise, you're in violation, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure I could probably get the votes for a violation of, section 93-51. So, I mean, if you're certain that you're not gonna meet the
I don't
hurdles.
know. I don't know for certain. I don't know that we couldn't potentially procure a zoning interpretation.
I mean, your testimony previously was like,
I can't testify in proceedings. I just present. I
You're
just
presenting, well, you
advocate.
said that
Yeah.
you weren't sure you could meet the elements.
I don't know. I haven't studied that issue, quite frankly, through the chair. I have not analyzed whether or not we would meet the requirements. I think, typically a variance is a pretty hard road to travel, just speaking from my general experience as a land use practitioner.
And it's expensive.
It's
That's why I
less
asked you to
expensive
consult.
than an appellate, having to go the appellate route to the 11th Circuit, which is expensive for us and for the city. And so
So you're telling me you're willing to spend the funds to go through an appeal if we rule that you're in violation?
we left with no choice. I think that our goal has been to resolve this matter as my client met with the city manager. Notwithstanding our belief that we are not required to submit a permit for this particular mural, we did that. To date, the only explanation that's been provided to us as to why we violated the provisions of the code were the 4 citations that were in the notice of violation. They were the same 4 citations that were returned to us when they denied the building permit. No one's explained those to us, and frankly, as I expressed to you with respect to the timeline, we were only advised that we did not get our building permit approved on September 16th and served with a summons on September 25th. So it's not our desire to be here in an adversarial posture with the
But you
city.
even tell me right now that you want to come into compliance and paint the wall.
We believe we are in compliance. We may disagree on that point, but we would like to resolve this matter in a way that avoids, needless litigation and adversarial posture of the city that we just want to be a part of. We want to be part of this community. Our president is a Miami Springs resident, so it's very awkward for us to be here as a new landowner arguing in an adverse posture with the city that we're a part of. So if it's this board's preference to allow us, rather than render a determination today, which if you did, then we have to appeal to preserve our rights, because we only have 30 days under the code to file a writ of cert. Our preference would be for this board to continue these proceedings and allow us time to either pursue an administrative interpretation that we can appeal to either the planning zoning appeal board or the city council, as your code provides, or apply for a variance. That's an option that's open to us. We're happy to go down that road. And if we end up in 30, 60 days, we find out that we're still in the same posture, at that point you can render a determination and we'll either have to come into compliance or avail ourselves of whatever appellate remedies we have. I think those are the options. I would hope that if the board feels that we should exhaust those administrative options, that you would give us the time to do it. And we're certainly happy, our clients indicated to me that they're happy to explore those options in good faith and see if we can get there and avoid further conflict.
Okay, sir, we need to speak as a group over here, so.
Yep. If there's nobody else.
At this point, yes, I guess we will tender our documents to the record and we look forward to your decision.
Okay, is there anyone else from your group that was sworn in that wants to say something?
I think at this point, you said you didn't want formal testimony, which was the object of having them speak, so we'll.
Okay, all right. So.
I guess we should have discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to giving them as much time. I mean, we've given other entities lots of time.
We give people time based on each individual case. We just don't give people lots of time. I mean, we treat every case individually, and we consider all the factors for each case. It's not that we give people a lot of time all the time.
Okay, well, another organization, a church, right? We've given them time. I would like to give this organization time. Actually, the mural, beautiful. People bring people into our community, potentially increases, I don't know, tourists coming and bringing income into our community. That could be nice, but I know that that might not be our role to determine whether we like it or not. But, I would like to, I don't wanna, I'm not in favor of fines, want to keep compliance by a certain time. That's
So you feel that they should go through the administrative proceedings and see in the next 30 or 60 days if they're able to possibly get a variance through the code, the planning and zoning board? Is that what you're stating?
I mean, I did not state that. That's what I was trying to get from our county attorneys, like which board is the board that decides if it's a mural or not? Right, to say, to throw out, like, if it's a mural, it doesn't apply, this code doesn't apply, then.
Or we don't have to, it's not our
Yeah.
job to direct them to whatever board it is that they need to go in front of, or it's not our job to direct them to do whatever it is they need to do. I mean, whatever motion we do, we'll give them, I guess, time to get a variance or get some other type of other avenue where they're allowed to keep the mural or sign or whatever definition.
I mean, my question was more about understanding my role, because this is only my third meeting. So I don't know if it's the role of this board, because nobody ever gave me a orientation to what part of that. So that's why. That comes up.
John?
George?
But do you guys agree on the administrative?
I think most, I'll make,
I
I don't want
to determine. It's a really small. Pick it apart.
right.
It's not up to us to decide that.
For what? For that. Right. So, make that decision in this case.
Okay.
Decision.
City attorney?
I think, to be honest. I've heard them all.
Yes, we have.
You would
The
then agree?
city attorney was gonna make a comment after John's. I think we should let them.
We're just asking, the city's position is we are not asking for any type of interpretation or guidance to give. Just that their findings of fact, conclusions of law be made or an order be rendered, and whether or not it's the board's discretion whether or not time to give it for compliance. But the city would like a ruling at this hearing based on the presentation of points.
And our floor is closed to,
Well, that's your discretion.
let us finish our discussion
will.
first, and then you're more than welcome to make comment. George?
Well, I think, I was gonna make a motion that they come in, that they follow section 93-51C, procedure for compliance, and specifically C1A and C1B.
I don't know if we can do that. We have to either find them in violation or not in violation, or give them some time period to come into compliance
To come into compliance,
with
it says procedure for
93.51.
compliance, that's all. Follow the procedure for compliance and give them 30, 60 days, whatever. That's what the zoning board ruled, and if they,
Or if they're coming into compliance or not coming into compliance. I don't even think we need to get so specific. Rosemary, our dates for December, or
For
for
December, it's December 7th.
and January is, and February, please.
I think 60 days.
January will be January 4th.
Yes, ma'am.
February 1st.
February 1.
Okay.
So, okay, I heard the number from Madam Chairperson, 60 days. Everything and everyone is so behind, the boards and even law offices short on staff, and everything is, I mean, things are not normal so far as staffing and being able to get things done. So if we do anything, definitely consider at least 90 days. I mean, I know, and that would be.
We have the holidays too.
We have the holidays as well. So that would be for them to come into compliance. I'm try to fashion something for them to be in compliance.
Madam Chair, if I just may, just for clarification, I don't want to. Just to understand your motion specifically, what you're saying is,
We haven't
We
decided on
haven't
a motion. We're
even-
still
We haven't decided, that's why we're still
And I
talking.
promised you I was gonna let you speak.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
So we're saying,
Yeah, the motion would be to come, to follow the procedures under section 93-51.
I think you can make it more general than that, just come into compliance with section 93-51. That's what we're
Make
saying.
it very general like that, give them 90 days to come back with whatever they want.
The attorney has something to say? Make it brief, because we've already closed out your comments.
thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, I want to just highlight section 3270, which governs it's part of your board procedures and the appellate process here. So I just want to clarify, is your motion to continue this matter for 90 days so we can apply and try to avail ourselves of that process? Because if you enter a final order that's adverse to us, I have to appeal. I don't want to do that, Frank.
No, we're not getting to that part.
I want to make sure for the record that it's clear.
No, we'll give you 90 days to come back with an answer from the zoning board.
Or we can do a motion for you to come in compliance, so we will discuss where our motion goes. So we trust me.
I want to make sure that that was the.
Yes, we can go either way,
Appreciate your.
including adding a daily fine if you're not in compliance after a certain date. So that's why I was asking you how much time you needed in order to rectify eliminate the mural if needed. And you said 90 days, so. Trying to take everything into account.
Good. I make a motion that they come into compliance following section 93-51 within 90 days. And then they need to come back and give us what the ruling of the zoning board.
Well, if they have to come into compliance, they have to come into compliance.
They would have to come into
You're mixing
compliance.
two things here. You're mixing two things that don't make sense.
What's
Sorry,
the
yeah,
compliance?
Come into compliance is full,
Within
come into compliance.
93-51, correct.
I'll second that motion. And just for the record, that'll take them, instead of counting the 90 days, let's put it on the February 1st date. Let's put an actual date, can we? Would that give them more or less? I mean, I don't want them having to count 90 days. And we can just connect it to
Okay.
a hearing date.
Is it?
Is there no opportunity to have just a continuance instead of having them come into compliance to change that?
Right now, you have,
I'm so sorry.
right now you have a motion on the floor that's been seconded, so we have to vote on it. Passes or not.
So I have a motion on the floor to come into compliance within, February 1st. It was seconded by Martinez Figueroa, Board Member Bankston.
Aye.
Board Member Figueroa,
Aye.
Board Member Martinez Figueroa,
Aye.
Board Member Rollins,
No.
Chairperson Jimenez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, so we would request a clarification. I think that might be helpful for both parties. Since it's come into compliance, is that,
That
Third
means
section.
go to whatever zoning or whatever board they want to go to, or
Section 93-51.
but that implies that
if they don't get
they are in
anything,
violation if you're required to come into compliance.
that's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's.
Administratively,
They have to go through the proper channel now to get a variance or get an exemption or whatever, have you per to 93-51. If they haven't done that and they haven't gotten a variance and they haven't gotten anything by the 90 days or by February 1st, then they're in violation and we will impose a fine.
And at this time, no fines are being imposed.
no,
Fines are being imposed right now.
Of course, we'll get an update just procedurally so they understand. We'll get an update on at our February 1st meeting, and then we'll decide, based on whether the mural's still there or not. And the city will present their case again.
Well, I'm really hoping that the zoning board can answer your questions and can take care of it.
yes,
I
take
want
care
this
of
to
it
end
direct.
amicably. I don't want this to end, with conflict or anything, because
If
that's not
not,
what
you
we're
understand
about.
where we're headed. We will do a daily fine.
No,
for the
I,
mural being there, even if you're in your appellate process, you know that better than I do.
Madam Chair, I want to say thank you to the board for their time, and this is not easy work, and you do it of your own free time, so we appreciate your being up here. I just want to clarify, because again, it's not our desire to want to have to appeal this, we certainly want to go through the administrative process. Have you rendered a determination of guilt on the item, or have you continued that determination to 90 days, at which time we'll assess whether,
We determined a violation.
so you. the
We're
board-
asking you to come into compliance
Okay,
with
so
the 90 days.
you said we are in violation of 9350, and you've given us 90 days to comply before you intend to assess fine. Is that,
We give you 90 days to comply, and then we will address on February 1st, whatever else we need to address based on what we see.
okay, so I just want to clarify that if that's the board's intent, we understand and we respect the decision. That will require us to appeal that decision, should we choose to, within 30 days, or we forego those appellate rights.
It's your choice. You
That is,
can-
the board understands that, and that's the intent of the board to foreclose, put us in that posture.
So you're basically gonna go against, and you're not gonna go to the.
No, we're gonna, but, so, Mr. Cogier, as the attorney can confirm, in order to preserve all our options, right, we would have to file the appeal within 90 days, because you've rendered a determination of guilt. And so under 3270 of your own code, you only give us 30 days from the execution of the order, whenever the clerk signs it, to then lodge an appeal timely. If not, we waive our appellate rights. And I have a license to protect. I certainly would not advise my client to,
Or you come into compliance and avoid all the appellate
which we
process.
hope
I mean,
we hope we could, but it's not certain that we can, quite frankly. So it's not my preference in terms of the motion you passed. It certainly is your prerogative. Our preference would have been that you just continue this for
You're
that period
arguing
of time.
something that we've already made a decision.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify with the rest of the board, shared your perspective. Okay, thank you for your time.
You're
Have a good
welcome.
evening.
Thank you.
I think we need to do the interpreter. Can we have the first case, because the interpreter is here? We're going to our second case then.
Case number 20-01549, 432 South Royal Point, Sienna Boulevard, code section 15104, application for building permits. On June 29th, 2020, I received a phone complaint regarding work without permits. The complainant explained that a bathroom was being built in the rear of the home under an aluminum roof. Based on satellite images from the Miami-Dade County property appraisers, I can confirm that 2 additions were built without permits in the rear. On June 30th, 2020, I issued a civil infraction notice. On July 21st, 2020, no contact made, no action taken. So, final CDN was, sorry, Rosemary, I know, hearing, but
I know he served that, but
Want me to close the door?
please, thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that this is a Robert case, Robert Quintero case. Go ahead. So on July the 8th, 2021, I issued a uniform civil violation notice in the amount of $100 for case number 20-01549. It was sent via regular and certified mail, tracking number 7019-1522. On July 10th, 2021, the ticket was delivered by USPS. On August 27th, 2021, I sent the summons to appear via regular and certified mail and with Miami Springs Police Department, tracking number 7018-7184. On August 30th, 2021, the summons was delivered by USPS. On September 1st, 2021, Miami Springs Police Department ASA Alvarez served Ethan Ferrer with the summons to appear. On September the 7th, 2021, the property owner appeared in front of the Code Compliance Board, but she did not have an interpreter So the code compliance board voted to postpone the meeting until November 2nd, 2021. The property owner to request an interpreter via the city clerk's department. On October 20, 2021, prepared and send the summons to appear for the November 2nd, 2021 code compliance board via regular and certified mail and with Miami Springs Police Department, tracking number 7019-0129. On October 26, 2021, Miami Springs Police Department Officer Lawrence, MS 0186, served the property owner with the summons to appear. On October 27, 2021, Officer Quintero called the property owner and confirmed the meeting date and reminded her to call the city clerk's department and confirm the interpreter. On October 28, 2021, Code Officer Quintero verified with the permit records and no permit application has been submitted to legalize the work. I also checked today and there was no permit. Okay.
I would like to request,
Has she been, I don't think she's been sworn in. No, she has not been sworn in because she came a little bit late.
¿se puede parar, por favor?
Sí.
Raise your right hand.
Levante la mano derecha, por favor.
Do you affirm to tell the truth,
Usted afirma decir la verdad,
the whole truth, and nothing but the
toda la
truth?
verdad y nada más que la verdad? Yes, I swear. Baje la mano.
Yeah, you were here
Señora,
the last time and I'm pretty sure that you understood what was going on, regarding-
lo que estaba sucediendo con respecto
everything that was going on in your yard, structures that were built.
estaba ocurriendo en el jardín de su casa, la estructura que se estaba ahí.
Did you build those structures?
Usted construyó esa estructura allí. Yes, I did it as an emergency for COVID. As you are aware, I work for the hospital, one Palestine campus. I was taking care of many patients that had COVID. And many patients died.
Ma'am, what does that have to do with you building
¿Qué
structures in
tiene
your
que ver
backyard?
eso con que usted haya construido esa estructura sin los permisos?
Porque yo salía del trabajo,
I would get out of work and I would come in through the door in the rear in order to remove my clothing so that I wouldn't go in with the virus inside.
So that's why you built the structures outside?
Eso es simple, so that I would not pass it to my family members. Ese es el motivo por el cual usted construyó esta estructura sin permiso. And I couldn't come here to request the permit because I also had COVID.
Okay, is there anybody living in that structure in the backyard?
¿Hay alguien que está viviendo actualmente en esa estructura en la parte de atrás?
No.
No.
Code enforcement officer, did you see any, is there somebody living back there? What's exactly going on?
Not that I know.
No que yo sepa.
What is it like what type of, what is the structure built out of? Is it cement block or?
I don't know.
So property owner, what type of material did you use to, is it cement
¿Qué
blocks or
tipo de
what's?
materiales utilizó para la construcción de esa estructura? ¿Cemento, bloques, qué? Durox panels.
So there's no, so you mean to tell me that entire structure is made out of drywall, basically?
Usted está indicando que toda esa estructura está hecha básicamente de paredes de piedra yeso, de paneles de ese tipo.
So,
Yes. And the roof is metal.
okay, so If a hurricane were to come, it would blow that structure away, I'm assuming.
Si viene un huracán que pasa por acá, me supongo que esa estructura se la llevaría, ¿verdad? Well, it was put in.
The purpose of you getting a permit for any structures
Tener un permiso para cualquier estructura.
is to make sure the structures are safe for you and for us,
Con el
the
propósito
residents.
de que esa estructura sea segura para usted como residente y para nosotros también.
Because when a hurricane comes and blows the building away, you're gonna affect other
Cuando
people's
un
property.
huracán pasa y se lleva esa estructura, pues no solo va a ser usted afectada, sino que otras propiedades también pueden ser afectadas.
Do you understand?
¿Usted entiende eso? Yes.
Is it your intent to apply for a permit to try to get those structures legalized?
¿Es su intención hacer la solicitud para obtener un permiso para poder legalizar esa estructura? Yes. Yes.
Ma'am,
Because I keep on working.
that is no excuse. You cannot just build a structure just because you don't wanna go in through your house to contaminate or cross-contaminate
Una
anyone.
estructura para simplemente evitar una contaminación, que eso no está permitido, señora.
I don't know if our other members that are in construction wanna make a comment, but from what I gather, the structure is just put together with drywall or durock and screws. It looks like a mobile home, and I'm very worried if a hurricane were to come and blow it away.
Si un huracán pasa por acá, se llevaría esa estructura.
Can we give her a certain amount of time to come into compliance? I mean, being somebody who worked as like a healthcare hero during the pandemic, I don't want to come down and automatically.
I think we can't give her time. I don't even think that structure, from the way she's described it, is even. I mean, it's just drywall and screws. It might not even be a legal structure. Is it like a mobile home?
Es como una casa móvil o rodante. No.
What is it used for?
¿Para qué se utiliza? I have the bathroom there and the laundry in that area.
I thought she was sleeping.
Usted estaba durmiendo. It is a laundry area and a bathroom.
I don't know. I know, it's just scary that someone might be living there, and it's probably an unsafe structure. And you know that you just can't add another family to a single family home. You just can't add a structure and turn it into a multi-family structure.
Adicional a una vivienda unifamiliar, no se puede añadir nada más.
How much time do you need to apply for a permit?
¿Cuánto tiempo necesita usted para hacer la solicitud del permiso? The permit is to build it with concrete or
The permit would be for you to
el permiso es para que usted
have a legal structure, or
tenga una
if it's not
estructura
legal and you need to demolish it,
y si no es una estructura legal, la tiene que demoler
with a permit.
con un permiso para poderlo hacer también.
John, do you want to add something or we say something?
Is that a prefab?
And the permit,
The permit information, the code enforcement officer can guide you so far as that process.
el cumplimiento de la normativa le puede usted orientar sobre lo que es necesario.
Do we just want to explain for her that anytime there's a new structure built, or addition made to a house,
Una nueva estructura o diseño de una
our
casa,
city has a law that you have to get a permit?
la ciudad tiene una ley que requiere que usted tenga que obtener un permiso
To
para
ensure that
poderlo hacer.
the plumbing, the electrical, everything is
Así se
safe.
asegura que todos los aspectos de la construcción, la plomería, la electricidad, está de acuerdo a las ordenanzas municipales
And it's safe for the people living there.
y que sea segura para las personas que viven allí.
In addition, your insurance company, if your insurance company sees that structure there and it's not up to code and it's without a permit, you can be in trouble with them too.
no es segura y que usted no tiene el permiso para esa estructura, también va a tener problemas con su compañía de seguros.
John and George, and then we can close it out, do some type of motion.
Structure, the one in the back is illegal.
La estructura que está en la parte de atrás es ilegal.
You can't build that unless it's a garage.
That has a permit.
Back one,
La de la parte de atrás, that has a permit.
It's a shed permit?
Yeah.
She's talking about the white roof thing.
Estamos hablando de la
Highlight
where the illegal
illegal.
This one has a permit.
you should.
But not the other, the white roof.
These two, no.
Right.
These two.
Esos dos no tienen permiso, que está donde está la, no.
Now, what we also need to confirm is that nobody's living here.
Tenemos que confirmar.
I was just informed by building clerk, or she used to be a building clerk, that there was a complaint that just came in that somebody is living there.
Hubo una queja que llegó que alguien sí está viviendo allí. Who filed the complaint?
That's irrelevant, ma'am.
Eso es relevante, señora.
Could be anyone driving around or a neighbor or somebody, I don't.
Puede haber sido un vecino o alguien que haya estado manejando por allá. Y maybe they saw me going in and out.
Okay, how much time do you,
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
You gotta
matter.
get,
Eso no
you gotta get a
importa.
permit for the two others.
Necesito un permiso para
you
los
highlight,
dos.
because I want to point it out to her.
Which one?
The white, the ones that are illegal.
This one?
That's what needs to be
Esto
corrected, that
está
one,
ilegal y necesita un permiso.
and the other one back there as well.
Y la otra que le está señalando también con la flechita, el techo blanco, también requiere un permiso.
You're going to need a permit for those structures,
Va a necesitar un permiso para esas estructuras.
or if you decide to demolish it, you're gonna need a permit to demolish as
Si
well.
usted decide que las va a demoler, también va a necesitar un permiso de demolición de la ciudad.
Do you understand?
¿Usted entiende eso?
Okay.
Yes, I need a permit.
Right, let's do a motion.
Okay, we're gonna give her, we're gonna do a motion and we're gonna give her a certain amount of time for her to take care of the problem.
Moción, y le vamos a dar tiempo para que usted pueda resolver estos problemas.
Would she allow us access into this structure here?
¿Usted nos permitiría poder acceder o entrar a esta estructura que está aquí donde está la flechita? ¿Nos permitiría entrar? Yes.
Okay, our code enforcement officer will call you.
El oficial
Be
de
able
la
to
agente de
visit
cumplimiento de
that
las ordenanzas
structure.
municipales va a contactarla a usted directamente.
In the meantime, George, do you have anything to add?
If that's not one of the structures that is under question, why are we asking to go inside?
I was just told that,
It's suspicious.
Oh, because of the
yeah, I
call?
was just told, ma'am,
Our motion has nothing to do with that structure. We have a motion, we would be discussing two other structures.
and since we're gonna be taking care of everything, might as well go in there as well. I mean, if she's allowing us.
Respect that-
Would you like a continuance? The problem with continuing anything with this matter is that we have to have the interpreter back every time.
Tenemos esto para otra fecha.
If the code enforcement officer wants
Sí,
a
la gente-
a continuance for her to be able to see if you need to add anything, or you can bring a separate matter, or how do you
I'll
want
be
it?
in contact, I'll call her and we'll make an
Yeah.
appointment, I'll go out there. That would be for something
Y haré una cita
Okay, so
con
it would be a
ella
separate
directamente.
matter.
else, a separate matter.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we give her 90 days to have an issued permit. Issued permit.
Tenga el
Is that-
permiso
is that
emitido, que lo tenga
Possible,
su mano.
John? 90 days?
Yeah, next time out.
90 días.
Construction.
I doubt that it's gonna pass. I doubt that it can be permitted.
Que va a poder pasar lo que es las ordenanzas de construcción.
Not down or up.
90 days, and
What she's doing.
she should know which way she's going in order to either keep it or have to knock it down.
You need to show drawing.
Oh, I know that. That takes time.
Well, with that type of roof, I don't think it'll,
Con ese tipo de
I don't think it'll pass.
And then she'll have to demolish it. I don't think that's gonna be permitted. So 90 days to have an issued permit.
90 días para que pueda tener los permisos
Oiga,
debidamente otorgados.
We adding a fine if there's no issue permit.
I would like to add a terrace there.
She could tell her architect that, not us.
No es a nosotros que nos tiene que decir esto, es al arquitecto o a la persona que va a diseñar le tiene que explicar eso.
So you're saying
We'll have to
90,
get an architect for all this.
Va a
She
tener
can
que
tell them
buscar
whatever
un
she wants.
arquitecto y al arquitecto usted le puede decir todo lo que usted
and it's gonna
considere.
cost a lot of money
Y
too.
eso va a costar mucho dinero.
That's why you need to understand, you either legalize that or get a permit to demolish it.
Entender que tiene que hacer el proceso de legalización de la estructura o obtener el permiso para la demolición de la estructura.
If the structure is not legal and it's not permitted, it cannot stay.
Si la estructura no está debidamente con todos los permisos, no puede permanecer esa estructura allí.
Okay, so my motion is to, I'm gonna stick to my 90-day,
90 días
so for an issued permit.
para que le emitan los permisos.
And then, that would take her up to the February,
How much money would it cost?
we have no idea.
Nosotros no tenemos ni idea de eso.
But usually you get a permit first before building.
Primero tiene que obtener el permiso, mucho dinero, bastante dinero.
So you have,
Approximately how much?
you have decisions to make. So we're gonna make a motion now.
Vamos
You
a
need
hacer
to,
ahorita la
when you go home tonight,
moción.
think about it because,
Esta noche cuando regrese a su casa tiene que pensar cuidadosamente sobre
because
esto.
what happens is if we give you a deadline to have a permit
Si
issued,
nosotros le damos un límite de tiempo para que usted pueda obtener toda la permisología,
and you don't have it, we may start a daily fine for you having
si
that
usted
illegal
no lo
structure.
hace, vamos a tener entonces que imponerle una multa diaria a usted.
That can be anywhere from $0 to $250 a day.
Eso es desde 0 a $250 al día la multa que le pueden imponer acá.
So my motion is a 90-day for a permit to be issued, and
La
I
moción
want
es
to see her
90
back
días para que
on
tenga
February
los
the
permisos emitidos
first.
y que se presente nuevamente aquí el día 1 de febrero.
Is there somebody with the office that is bilingual that can walk her through the process outside of
I have
it?
a clerk right here, she's gonna help her.
We have a motion on the floor, 90 days.
Second by Bankston.
John seconded.
Board Member Bankston.
Aye.
Board Member Figueroa.
Aye.
Board Member Martinez Figueroa.
Aye.
Board Member Rones. Aye. Chairperson Jimenez.
Aye.
The motion carries.
La moción pasa por-
So ma'am, you have a lot of work to do.
Tiene bastante trabajo por delante, señora.
If you decide to demolish, then you need to go through that process
Si
to get
usted
that
quiere
permit.
hacer la demolición de las estructuras, tiene entonces que seguir el proceso para obtener el permiso para poderlo hacer. I would like to be able to contact an architect.
You have 90 days to do whatever it is you need to do.
Tiene 90 días para hacer todo lo que usted considere pertinente en este caso.
But we are expecting you to have an issued permit.
Nosotros tenemos la expectativa que en 90 días usted tiene que tener ya los permisos debidamente emitidos por la ciudad. The 90 days is if I want to build or to demolish.
You can do whatever you want. If you're gonna demolish and you come up with a permit, then you'll be back in front of us in February the 4th and we'll see where you're
En
at.
febrero, ya sea si usted quiere la demolición, tiene que presentarse con el debido permiso de demolición delante de nosotros el 1 de febrero y si no, con el permiso de construcción debidamente autorizado.
In the meantime, please keep the code enforcement officers, and I'm sorry, do we have another code enforcement officer
Por
that
favor,
I'm
hay
not
que
aware of?
contactar a la gente que tiene que ver con el movimiento de las ordenanzas municipales.
You can contact the code enforcement office and they will be able to assist you.
A la gente que está encargado del cumplimiento de las ordenanzas municipales. municipales.
And they speak Spanish,
Y ellos hablan español de ellos.
okay?
Con ella o con ella, ellas dos.
So please, just one last thing for her, since we have, the city has the expense and it's coming out of my taxes and your taxes and everybody's taxes here,
Como la
to
ciudad,
have the interpreter here. We need for you to act, okay?
usted tiene que tomar acción y hacerlo, porque la ciudad está gastando dinero y está gastando dinero de los contribuyentes de la ciudad, que me incluyo yo, en los gastos del intérprete aquí. Ok,
You weren't too convinced about that,
usted no está muy convencida con eso
or concerned.
o preocupada. Yes.
Any questions that she has
¿Tiene
has two
alguna
people to
pregunta
talk to.
que quiera hacerle a los miembros de la Junta de Cumplimiento de la Ordenanza?
No, not questions for us. If she has any questions, she has two people in this, in the city that she gets to
Personas en la
talk to.
ciudad, perdón. Si usted tiene alguna pregunta, se la puede hacer.
You guys can give her a business card so she can have something
Le van a dar
physical.
una tarjeta de presentación para que la pueda contactar. Ok.
Okay,
Okay, great. Thank you.
good luck.
Buena suerte. Un placer.
Thank you, sir, interpreter, for coming to be with us tonight.
See you next time.
We apologize for the long delay.
No,
Sorry.
Póngase en contacto con ella.
What's next?
Lene,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the new code enforcement officer's name.
Jose Ladies Borrego.
she was in the office with you guys,
Yes,
right?
she, correct. She's the building specialist,
Okay,
and now she's training with myself
okay.
to be a code compliance officer.
Right, I wish you would have introduced her in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
You know,
It was a little cray cray.
that's okay. You take the time to do it next time.
Okay. So we have the
We have
next
someone
case.
here for 164 Lene. No,
No one?
Nate? No?
no Lene.
Okay, then we should.
So what is going on with the name for?
Improbable vehicles.
164 Lene.
So
Page
who is,
number.
are they here for that?
Let's take care of it.
You're
Oh,
just
they
here
did
to come and see us?
I'm the city councilman.
I know who you
Victor
are.
Vest.
Yes, I know.
I'm, this is my first, I'm visiting all of the commissions as
Good.
we
Good
were
for you.
recommended, so
Thank you
you
for
guys-
being
you
here.
guys
Welcome
were
to
the
the
first-
hardest working one.
you guys are the first one up, and so what, I just want to say thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you. for
Thank you
yours.
for your service, sir.
Thank you for yours. So the gentleman also is not here for any of the.
You're just
okay.
here to observe and you wanted to sign up.
Well, I wanted to sign up for the previous group. I'm also a member of the Business and Economic Development Task Force.
Welcome. Welcome
So
to
thank
the,
you for.
welcome to the
volunteering.
most exciting board, though. I know you guys have a lot of work, but
I've been here before on behalf of the United States Air Force. People 25 years ago, when the chairman
wow.
was Mr. Correa.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And they were very accommodating to our military.
a few of us are in the 20-year mark already. But we won't say who.
Almost.
Almost.
So I think we should talk about 164, the name, and just make motions. So,
So, case number 21-0482 for 164 Lene Drive, code section 7104 for inoperable vehicles prohibited. So on August the 5th, 2021, I observed several cars parked at the property. Possible bodywork, tires observed, inoperable vehicles, so I mailed a civil infraction notice. On October 18, 2021, the property remains in violation, so $100 ticket was mailed via regular and certified return receipt 7019-0099, and it was referred to the code compliance board. On October 21st, 2021, summons to appear was given to police for service to homeowner. It was also sent via regular and certified return receipt number 7019-0105. So numerous vehicles,
Body shop in Miami Springs. We don't allow
I
parking.
haven't been able
We
to
allow
prove
body
that.
shops.
but that's what it looks like. Nobody's contacted me. I don't know what's happening.
Let's start applying. For the record, there's no one here out from the property, so 164 Lane Drive.
64 the nature.
With no tax too?
No tax, yeah, that's why they're, I can only prove inoperable vehicles, like, you know.
And what's the maximum daily fine we can do? Is it, or is it a per, that was a ticket, isn't it?
The ticket was for $100.
And you could cite them every day if you wanted to.
Yes.
Okay, you could do $100 per day. No, you could too, you could give them ticket after ticket after ticket after
But
ticket.
I would have to write a ticket out every day.
But the question was, you can.
Yes,
Okay, I heard it.
yes. But if you,
We know, we know our options.
yeah, okay.
Not a repeat offender,
No,
first time.
first time.
Who owns this house? Everyone, I got it. That's what I usually do on my, yeah, what is it? Do the property search.
Asia DaCosta and Emerson DaCosta.
Okay, so it's
That's
not a corporation.
individuals.
Okay. Actual people, not a corporation. So someone has to make a motion to start some
You
type
start
of.
daily fine as of,
Today.
We can
as of
start
today.
today.
I mean, we can go retro too.
They're not here, so. They don't really, they're not really bothered.
And there are a lot of cars there. I think we need to go up to the maximum.
And no tax, which is number one.
No tag, yeah. This one.
Well, they're marked for accident and like body shop work and stuff. So,
Could report it an auction.
yeah, that's all.
We don't know what it
Probably went to a junkyard for parts, so they're gonna try to fix it.
So
Motion, anybody?
should we do it by car or by just the house? There's at least three. How many? Three at least.
We can say until it gets cleared of the comparable.
Start $100 a day. 85. Some potential.
So,
But we can go back to August 5th, is that what
So
you
there's at least 4 that I know for sure have no tags. I don't know the other ones, because they're back in.
Well, we don't have to give a specific number. We can, we can,
yeah, let's do a fine, a daily fine. I would suggest at least $100.
John, is that a motion of yours?
So I just said, count car you can do.
That's correct. I think we should just do a flat daily fine until they come into compliance.
Starting
Now,
today.
when they come into compliance, I don't know. Or are they gonna come and tell you, hey, we've come into compliance? Is that your problem? I don't want you visiting there every day. That's not your, I guess they will let you know when they come into compliance.
I get tired of getting notices from finance. Because finance does send them bills. I'll be updating it. Every couple weeks.
It may need to be more than $100 a day. It might be just as, cheaper for them to have parking for $100 a day for all those vehicles and having another property to house them.
That's what the park.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Well, somebody come up with a figure. Alisa? I said at least 100, but we can go, I think, as high as 250, council?
First on the fence.
Right, which they are. Okay. So there's at least 4 cars.
If you go 100 right now, it's already $9,000.
That's if we start the task, we start from today. That's if we start
No, this is,
retroactively.
it's been going on since August the 5th.
You have
That's
to
still there.
respond to it.
This is one of those where you should go back to August 5th.
They don't care, and then they'll care when there's a lien on their house. So,
It starts at 10:18. That's what you do, too.
starting with the ticket, John? 1018, you said?
10:18 is when the ticket
Did they pay the ticket?
Sorry?
Did they pay that $100 ticket?
No,
But you got a return receipt, that they did receive it.
Or a picture that it was posted on their door.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see a return receipt.
To expedite this, make a motion to, starting on 10/18/21, retroactively to apply a $100 daily fine.
Starting on 10/18. I second it.
So it comes into compliance, is that the motion?
Yes. 100. Excellent. No, and then
Remember Bexton?
Aye.
Remember Figuera?
Aye.
Remember Martinez Figuera?
Aye.
Remember Rollins?
Aye.
Chairperson Jimenez?
Aye.
The motion carries.
If they're so worried about it, they need to comment at the code enforcement officer that they are in compliance.
It started October 8th.
473 Lafayette. They complied.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they complied today.
And what was that one about?
It's a vacant lot that I keep having issues with, it's overgrown.
The one near the hotel or something? No. Oh, I remember.
What about Old Business?
They complied as well, they got their permit issued.
Thank you, Brian, baby at home. Been crying since I left, so I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have any other? That's it. Okay, this meeting's adjourned at 8:47.
What were you asking if nobody ever?
Well, do I get like an orientation from Iowa or something?
Sir, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, when we were running for election, I actually called the person that called me to speak to me. I actually spoke to them for a little while.
Give her a book.
I spoke to the person that called.
I have book number 18.
Right, but then we-
Thrown into the fire.
Oh,
So those like dishes.
Oh, there's one more book?
I
got a book.
All I got was the
14 years ago.
all I got was the code,
And then
the
you
code
also
for,
have-
that's like this big, it's a Bible.
Yes, that's what I thought.
That's all I got. Oh, I haven't gotten any updates.
You still have it?
Yeah,
That was all right.
I haven't gotten any
It's like,
updates.
wait a minute.
More about like, what is our exact goal?
It does say that. It does say that.
They surrender.
It's not there, but it shows you your duties and responsibility as a board member. So you can just
Cut
take that.
dry.
And then.
A lot of the stuff's cut and dry.
There's a website that has the code, the Miami Springs City Code and ordinance.
I send her when they send her roll call letter.
Send it, okay, but you can just go there, you don't have to need to book
And then the
it.
iPad.
Everything is online.
Yeah. Tell her so that she can read it.
Board member, board member Rollins, sorry. Board member Rollins.
I got a book and I would go on the book and I would read.
All right, good night.
I would read the book.
And off the record, lawyers just complicate life more, man.
Oh, God.
It's so simple, and lawyers just love to complicate.
He's going around and around and around. Asking me, what, did I understand what I'm talking? Of course I understand. You were, yeah, you have to come from place, therefore we are guilty of the violation.
They are painted every
Like,
day.
isn't it like, yes, I'm asking you to come into compliance. I didn't know if you were in violation. You know, Robert, that's from one day to the next, so I don't know. I don't know. You know, I go big for what?